Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different and, frankly, a bit mind-bending. We're pulling back the curtain to uncover the invisible architecture of the media we consume every single day. We're drawing entirely on the absolutely groundbreaking insights of Marshall McLuhan from his legendary work, Understanding Media, the Extensions of Man. So get ready, because we're about to look at the screens in our pockets and the devices in our homes in a completely new way.
I want to kick things off by asking you a seemingly simple question. Does it actually matter what you watch? I mean, when we stare at our screens, we usually just obsess over the specific content, right? We argue about a particular news broadcast, or a controversial video, or some viral social media post. But what if the actual content of those screens isn't what's really changing our minds? What if the content is just a distraction, and the technology itself is what's fundamentally rewiring our reality?
Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp this paradigm shift, we first need to look at the conventional wisdom. You know, the way most of us currently think about technology. Take a look at this quote from General David Sarnoff. He basically stated that technological instruments aren't inherently good or bad. Their value is determined entirely by how we choose to use them. It's the classic argument. A tool is just a neutral tool. If a platform connects people, it's good. If it's used to spread hostility, well, it's bad. It sounds incredibly logical, doesn't it? Or maybe it's just what we want to believe. But here is where McLuhan steps in and just dramatically shatters that illusion. He actually calls Sarnoff's viewpoint the voice of the current somnambulism. Somnambulism, sleepwalking. McLuhan argues that believing technology is just some neutral vessel, and that content is the only thing that matters, well, it makes us completely blind to reality. It's like saying apple pie is neither good nor bad, it's just how you use it. We're literally sleepwalking through a technological matrix, completely ignoring the actual nature of the mediums that surround us.
The illusion of content. So, debating endlessly over the specific tweets, articles, or videos we consume completely misses the true underlying power of the technology itself. And this brings us to one of the most famous phrases of the 20th century. The medium is the message. But what does that actually mean? Well, imagine humanity before the electric light bulb. Our lives, our schedules, our entire society, they were dictated by the sun. But the second we flipped that switch, the medium of electric light completely rewrote human association. The light bulb has no content in the way a newspaper or a TV show does, right? It doesn't tell a story, yet it allowed for night baseball, brain surgery at midnight, and 24-hour factories. It changed the scale, pace, and pattern of human affairs without uttering a single word. The light bulb itself is the message.
McLuhan brilliantly realized that the content of any medium is usually just another medium, and he said this content functions like a juicy piece of meat carried by a burglar to distract the watchdog of the mind. I love that. The content literally blinds us to the true character and impact of the medium itself. For instance, it wasn't until IBM realized they weren't actually in the business of making office machines, but rather in the business of processing information, that they finally understood their own medium. Think about today. We might think a tech company like Apple just sells us phones or apps, but really, their medium is an inescapable digital ecosystem that completely reframes how we interact with the world. We get so caught up in the message, the text we just got, the app we just downloaded, that we totally fail to study the massive cultural shifts the medium itself causes.
Section 2. Extending the nervous system.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the historical evolution we're looking at here. For thousands of years during the mechanical age, our technologies were fragmented. The wheel was basically an extension of the foot. Clothing was an extension of the skin. The mechanical age extended our physical bodies out into space, step by step. But today, in the electric age, that dynamic has completely flipped. When your smartphone buzzes in your pocket with a breaking news alert from across the planet, you feel it instantly. Sometimes you even feel a phantom vibration when it hasn't buzzed at all. That's because we haven't just extended a limb anymore, we've literally wired our central nervous systems into a global digital grid. Electric speed brings all social and political functions together instantly, basically abolishing space and time on our planet.
Section 3. Hot and cool media.
To understand how these different technological tools dictate our perception of reality, McLuhan divides media into two distinct temperatures, hot and cool. A hot medium extends a single sense in high definition, meaning it's densely packed with data. Think of a high-resolution virtual reality movie or a traditional printed book. They give you so much information that they require very little audience participation. They essentially do the work for you. A cool medium, however, is low definition. Think of a fragmented Twitter thread or a cryptic TikTok trend. These give you a super meager amount of information, requiring your brain to actively fill in the blanks. Cool media demand deep, active mental participation to piece the puzzle together.
And changing the temperature and structure of a medium, it completely rewires cultural boundaries and human expression. Take the waltz. It emerged as a hot, explosive human expression that shattered formal feudal and courtly dance styles. Jazz did the exact same thing to formal musical structures. Or look at the printed word. By turning the cool, communal oral tradition of storytelling into a hot, visual, highly specialized medium, print burst the bonds of medieval guilds and led directly to extreme individualism and nationalism. The medium rewrote the very perception of reality.
Section 4. What matters versus what's overrated.
So, the crucial point is, when analyzing all this today, it's probably pretty overrated to endlessly debate whether a specific modern app, like Instagram or X, is strictly hot or cold by 1964 standards. What truly matters is the fundamental mechanic underlying all of it. Electric speed forces deep, tribal participation. Think of a teenager sitting entirely alone in their bedroom, scrolling through a personalized algorithm. Physically, sure, they are isolated. But neurologically? That instant electric information involves them in a cohesive state of global village living. They are simultaneously forced into a deep, tribal participation with millions of other minds. It demands their involvement, completely regardless of their personal point of view.
Section 5. The numbness of Narcissus.
And this brilliantly illustrates McLuhan's physiological metaphor of autoamputation. If our central nervous system is globally extended and constantly bombarded, why aren't we just running around in a constant state of panic? Well, think about doom scrolling. Your nervous system is overwhelmed by a massive barrage of global tragedies, alerts, and pressures flowing through your feed. When the central nervous system faces that intense irritation, it protects itself by isolating the offending function and amputating it via technology. But this causes a massive system overload, a literal state of shock. To survive this shock, your brain simply amputates its empathy, inducing a generalized numbness. This is the true meaning of the Narcissus myth. Actually, scratch the idea that Narcissus was in love with himself. He was numb to his own reflection, completely unaware that the image in the water was a self-amputation. We are just like Narcissus, staring numbly at our screens, failing to recognize them as literal extensions of our own nervous systems.
Section 6. Waking up the global village. Because of this electric technology, we have suddenly shifted roles. We are no longer fragmented specialists living in isolation. We have become nomadic gatherers of knowledge, instantly interrelating every single human experience. And this is exactly why we're living in an age of anxiety. This electric implosion compels total commitment and total participation from everyone, everywhere, all at once. Algorithms don't just ask for your passive attention, they demand you engage, react, and participate. We are forced to be involved in the lives of people on the other side of the planet, just as they are in ours.
By putting our central nervous systems into our electric media, we now wear our brains outside our skulls and our nerves outside our hide. It's a wild thought, isn't it? So I ask you to look at the very screen you are using to watch this explainer right now. Look at the device you hold in your hand. If your brain is externalized in that device, who or what is programming your thoughts today? Thank you so much for exploring the invisible architecture of our world with me. Stay curious, stay aware, and for sure, keep questioning the medium.